to our first joint webinar hosted by EOS Data Analytics and Agroxchange. Today, the theme of the webinar is to talk about agriculture in Africa, what it means, what are the challenges that the agricultural sector is suffering from. And the theme exactly is about accelerating socioeconomic well-being of smallholder farmers through smart farming technologies. Please note that we have 2 hours for this webinar today. We're going to be covering a lot of topics. I will be introducing the key speakers shortly. And of course, if you are not able to attend the entire session or you're in different time zones, then a recording of this session will be sent out to you later this week. And also, as you see on the right side of the screen, you have the chat box. We have 2 moderators who will be answering questions. So please feel free to post any questions you have or that you would like to ask. And hopefully at the end of this webinar, we will have around 12, I would say, to 20 minutes to answer some of the most, I would say, exciting questions. And yeah, so let's just go through the agenda today. We're going to be giving you a bit of a context about who EOS Data Analytics is, followed by Agroxchange. Then we're going to be talking about agriculture in Africa, some key statistics, I would say, and we're going to be focusing on West Africa, exactly Nigeria, also perhaps Ghana and Benin Republic. We're going to be talking about the challenges and what are the solutions, how we can combat these challenges that the agricultural world suffers from. Then we're going to be covering topics such as providing smallholder farmers with actionable insights using agricultural technology, followed by precision agriculture, which is a key enabler, as you know, for digital disruption in agriculture. Then we're going to talk about opportunities in delivering results using smart digital technologies, followed by agricultural data lakes and analytics. And at the end of the webinar, we're also going to be talking about the launch of the first agricultural-based satellite by EOS Data Analytics, and what is sort of the future vision that we have for the entire continent using satellite data. And yeah, the Q&A session, hopefully we'll have time for that. And without further ado, let me introduce you the key speakers who will be joining us today and who will be covering the topics that I just mentioned earlier. First of all, we have Adewale, who is the CEO and founder of Agroxchange Technology.
Thank you very much, Reem. My name is Adewale Adegoke. I'm the CEO founder of Agroxchange Technology Services. Our background is GIS, and with the current issues of food security, we've been able to successfully tie the application of spatial data, in improving food security, especially with regards to smallholder farmers. Thank you.
Then we have Mr. Ajit. Perhaps just a quick note on this one. Unfortunately, as you have seen in the blog post, we were supposed to have Mr. Clive today from Amazon joining us, but due to unforeseen circumstances, he's not able to attend. So we have Mr. Ajit, who is the Senior Solution Architect of Aerospace and Satellite Group at Amazon. Ajit, would you like to say a couple of words?
Thank you, Rim. Hi, everyone. I'm Ajit Rajdev Singh. I'm a Senior Solutions Architect at the Aerospace and Satellite Group at Amazon. I'm based out of Luxembourg, and I help customers across EMEA build solutions on AWS using cloud computing services.
Thank you, Ajit. And we have Uzoamaka, who is the Country Launch Manager, Precision Agriculture for Development.
Everyone, it's really exciting to be attending this webinar with you all. Thank you.
And lastly, we have Dr. Siva, who is the Associate Professor of Precision Agriculture at University of Putra, Malaysia.
Greetings, everyone. I'm an academic. I teach and research, and I've got about 20 years of experience in precision agriculture. I'll be very happy to have a conversation with you about precision agriculture and smart farming. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. So let's start, I would say, the webinar. So the first section that we are covering is just a bit of a background about EOS Data Analytics. So EOS is an American company. We are headquartered in the States, but we operate out of Europe. We offer, I would say, various services, various products. We are experts in agricultural because here we offer 4 out-of-the-box products, such as crop monitoring, crop classification, yield prediction, harvest monitoring, the list goes on and on. But we mostly, I would say, partner with NGOs, IT companies, governmental, commercial, scientific organizations, input suppliers, banks, etc. And of course, the key focus, I would say, always when we partner with companies, for example, when we partner with Agroxchange, the key focus is to provide digital farming for smallholder farmers, because we see that there is a need and a necessity to deliver these services in a coherent way where everybody is able to benefit out of this information. We also have, I would say, around 250 employees. We are also part of a space group holding. So we have lots of sister companies within EOS Data. So we have, for example, Firefly, which is also a US-based entity. It builds, well, launch rockets. We just partnered up with NASA to go to the moon in 2023. We also have another sister company called Dragonfly that is based in South Africa. And that company is actually building and launching this satellite constellation for us next year. I'll be covering this topic at the end of this webinar. Yeah, I mostly, because I'm responsible for partnership at EOS, and I mostly work with our partners, with our resellers on a global scale. But I would say the last 6 months, I would say this year, like the key focus has been Africa, because we do see that there is a need for this kind of technology. There is an interest. There is a demand for smart farming, but in order for us to deliver this technology, we need to find the right kind of partners. And luckily we found Agroxchange. So Adewale, I'll be passing on the floor to you. If you can tell us a little bit about Agroxchange and the background of the company, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the introduction, Wim. Agroxchange Technology Services is registered in Nigeria and domiciled in Akure, southwest of Nigeria. That's the state capital of Ondo State. And we established the first smart farming advisory and technical center in Nigeria with Flying Labs Nigeria. Flying Labs Nigeria is a technical hub focused on data and artificial intelligence, most especially in building local capacity. It is not a registered organization. It's a hub that is within, a network of other hubs globally. And we apply data and artificial intelligence to drive agribusiness insights for resilience in agricultural production, which is critical for sustainability in food security. We also work with aggregators to strengthen the market linkages for farmers, to ensure that we cover the entire value chain, from production to the market. And we build local capacity because we recognize that the youth, they contribute quite a lot, to the agricultural space in Nigeria, especially in the area of applying technology for agriculture. So we build capacity of community youth to be able to apply our tools, especially using the crop monitoring platform, in providing advisory capacity to smallholder farmers. And excuse me 1 second. Okay, I'd like to tell a little bit of a short story, about our journey and our partnership background between EOS and Agroxchange. The journey started, in 2020. We started with 100,000 hectares. Initially, we developed the scope and conditions, beginning of collaboration in 2020, and we established the branded platform rollout by October 2020. However, prior to this trajectory, there's an important aspect that I'd like the audience to know about, to understand. Agroxchange actually started as a smart farming service delivery company that recognized the need for primary data on farm locations. At the time, there was the dearth of spatial data showing the location of farms, the sizes of farms, and we thought that that would be a really good place for us to start from. That was in 2017. And we figured that if we're able to do that and we're able to establish visual assessment of the distribution of farms in Nigeria, we will be able to understand how farms are clustered and the issues that they're experiencing. At that point, it was descriptive. So at the early stage, we focused on understanding farmer behavior because we recognize that for there to be technology uptake among smallholder farmers, there's a need to be able to establish a change in the farmer behavior towards the application of the technology. So we started by understanding the farmer behavior and bridging the gap in spatial data deficit in relation to location and profile of farms. We started data collection in Kagako local government area in Kaduna South. That was in 2017, and we were working with ginger farmers at the time. That was how we started. We quickly recognized, however, that for us to establish a change in farmer behavior or secure the consent of the farmers to allow us to collect the data, we had to work closely with the farmers. Therefore, we slept on the farm for a few days, although we were not prepared for it. But one thing we were sure of, that we had a vision and we needed, to achieve that vision. And the next day, we organized a workshop to introduce the company and our mission, but there was no application that we had. We hadn't built anything, so we didn't have anything to demonstrate. But we had the knowledge, to be able to explain to them using Google Maps. So it was visual. The farmers were able to see it and they understood it. And the workshop was an immense success as we were able to secure the buy-in of the farmers and the community heads. Now, the key lessons that we learned include the value of community engagement and close working relationship with smallholder farmers in accelerating technology uptake among smallholder farmers, and the potential of creating job opportunities for community youth in digital agriculture, particularly data collection. Now, after about 3 days, we had collected about 300 GPS points of ginger farmers and recruited about 5 community youth as per recommendations from the community head. So we're able to basically establish relationship, with these systems, to be able to identify reliable youth that we could work with. Although the initial plan was to use the data to link the farmers with the market, since most of the farmers sold retail in the local market that functioned only 2 days in a week. So basically, they were not making a lot of money, and typically every farmer is a businessman. You see, you can't farm on an hectare of land and eat the entire produce yourself. It's not subsistence. You have to pay your bills. The farmer needs to pay the bills, sort out the children and all that. So we, and another objective of our engagement was to measure the impact of digital technologies on the economics of production and establish a sort of attribution with digital agriculture. In a nutshell, the question that we wanted to answer was, can digital agriculture measurably increase incomes for farmers and reduce costs of inputs? The farmer wants to reduce costs and make money to be able to, improve the livelihood. Can we do it? Can we achieve this? We were not successful at achieving that at the first step, but then again, we had to go back to the drawing board. And with that, we recognize that first, there's a huge market out there. There's a gap, amongst in the smallholder or small scale producers, in agricultural space in Nigeria. And we also knew that mapping wasn't adequate. We could map 1 million farmers, but it is not adequate. We need to be able to understand the activities and also how the crops on the land that's been invested in, is actually performing. And with that, based on the outliers that you can see on the screen, we discovered that these gaps or these huge numbers basically constitutes an opportunity to be able to apply and implement digital agriculture sustainably for smallholder farmers. And going forward, we were able to go back to the drawing board and unbundle the concept of farming into land, crops planted on the land, investments in input, activities that act on the crops to optimize the farm, and the investment, the land, for example, crop health monitoring and good agronomic practices. So with that, we knew that, okay, from the land, we have a map. But what next? Next thing is we need to be able to understand what is going on the land. And that was where the crop monitoring platform establishment, the partnership establishment with EOS came into being. Because we were at the point we were researching for organizations that we could work with and we'll be able to provide this sort of services. Initially, we started working using multispectral drones, but we discovered that the cost of multispectral drones, especially managing or monitoring multiple farms, was quite high, and we couldn't pass it on to the smallholder farmers because of the low disposable income. Now, for the farmer, what the farmer needs is advisory. The farmer's mandate is to grow crops and make profit from the yield. If the farmer is not interested in creating or adopting new technologies, but to be able to make money. So we're further to be able to ensure that the farmers have this level of advisory as a partnership with EOS. And in our quest for the right solution and partnerships to mitigate the high cost of multispectral drones, we found EOS and our vision came to life. Working with EOS, we have been able to achieve up to 400,000 hectares initially, and that is between 2020 and 2021, using a top-down approach and working with industry regulators. Our partnership with EOS focuses on continuous research in digital agriculture to answer questions that bother around deriving greater insight for satellite imagery. And going back to slide 9, in the sheer proportion of smallholder farmers in the Nigerian agriculture space and the existing constraints that limit their productivity, the constraints present an opportunity to improve the livelihoods of over 5 million smallholder farmers in Nigeria and create jobs for hundreds of thousands of youth in digital agriculture. Although for some of the audience, members of the audience, who are from Nigeria, we have programs from the federal government, Anchor Borrower Scheme. We have programs bordering around extension work, and provision of agronomy service advisory created by the Office of the Vice President. And some of the constraints that we observed and we wanted to solve include, poor yields and compliance with good agronomy practices. Farmers typically, even when their capacity is built on good agronomy practices, they don't necessarily go back to implement it. And that is why there's a huge gap. And you find smallholder farmers still complaining about access, to the market, because they forget to understand the fact that the off-takers that's going to buy the product is interested only in products that meet their requirement. Now, if the farmer is not able to do that, that means that gap between the farmer and the off-taker will always exist. And the farmer would only be able to offload the product or even basically incur a whole lot of post-harvest losses, if you see what I mean, because especially if you look at the case of cassava, it has 72-hour shelf life. This has to move to the market quickly. The next is low levels of technology uptake for monitoring by smallholder farmers. Again, like I mentioned, the smallholder farmers, basically, they have issues with adopting technology for several reasons. Where they're located in rural areas, they have poor connectivity, the disposable income. I mean, telling a smallholder farmer that makes probably like 500, 600,000, per season, to use 25,000 naira or 50,000 naira to buy a smartphone or buy a laptop. How is it going to buy it? The farmer is not interested in that. Basically, you lose the farmer. And low capacity among smallholder farmers to interpret data. They don't have background in GIS or remote sensing like we do. And we feel that it is critically, for the farmer to be able to have access to the advisory from our services or from the crop monitoring platform, which is understandably. At the cost of technology, now we have to focus on democratization. Again, we have to look at the disposable income of the smallholder farmers. We don't want to burden them anymore. They already have a lot of issues. Why are we bringing more issues? Now, if we're not able as an organization to adopt cost-saving strategies, how do we expect to offer cost-saving strategies to the farmer? We already have a high cost. Then, hey, who's going to pay the high cost? That was why we moved from using drones for crop monitoring to using satellite imagery. And the last is integration of technology with extension services. Now, this one is a really key point for us. We have teeming youth in the communities in Nigeria that need jobs. At the moment, the major problem, one of the major problems for the federal government and state governments is to look inwards and create jobs for youth. Now, if we're going to diversify the economy of Nigeria into non-oil sectors, we need to look at agriculture. Agriculture is a no-brainer. We eat every day. So to produce food, in Nigeria, you already have over 200 million ready demand. And across the globe, you have over 7 billion ready demand for food you have to eat every day. So how do we apply our technology to catalyze, food security and also improve the livelihoods of the farmers and create jobs for this youth in this area? That is where they come in as extension services. And next is, 1 second, please. Okay, right. So now with these problems, we had to come up with a solution that is sustainable and a solution that will be able to achieve particular SDG goals, for Nigeria. And a model that can easily be replicated across board, in Nigeria, in West Africa, East Africa, whichever. And one of the key approaches is to mitigate the constraints. We adopted the delivery of multiple digital solutions integrated into bundled innovative services through the Smart Farming Advisory and Technical Center. Now, through this approach, we offered tailored democratized services using top-down approach to achieve the expected impact of resilience and improved farmer livelihoods. So with that, we basically look at it from the point of propagating advisory to the farmers. We want to be able to solve these issues such that even taking into account the current problems that we have in the country, which is insecurity, these have limited the capacity of farmers to go to the farm. They are afraid of being attacked, and cows or others basically trample their crops. Now, how do we solve this problem? How do we ensure that we can still optimize production while taking into account and solving the problem of insecurity? Now, one of the things that we thought about is to be able to propagate this, we decided to apply or adopt the process or the approach of implementing localized smart farming advisory and extension services or centers within farming communities as smart farming villages. This ensures that the farmers within that community are provided services that include security, and this security will come from collaborations with the local vigilante group. That means we are able to improve the confidence of the farmer, either an existing farmer or a new farmer. The most important thing is to increase the ROI and reduce the cost or the overhead, which basically takes us through the Smart Farming Center, as you can see here. So we have the Smart Farming Center at the top, and we have the operators, Agroxchange and Flying Labs Then our partners include orbital solutions and Earth observation systems. And with that, the key services this Smart Farming Center offers include artificial intelligence and machine learning. So we apply this a lot, especially in the field of in the oil palm industry, to do tree counts, to be able to monitor the biomass and also retention of water. Then we apply drones, and we offer capacity building in drones as well, especially for mapping. And we provide crop monitoring, which is our key and flagship product, and also real-time profiling, farmer profiling, and tailored agri-tech investment advisory, which is critical. For that, we're able to advise new farmers on the best areas to invest in acquisition of land. So we're able to tell the prospective farmer about how best the land is, the soil nutrient composition, what crops are best, to grow there, and the other services that we can layer on this during the production. And we offer extension and agronomy services and crop spraying drone services as well. So basically, we offer services from pre-investment through production and retail, establishing linkages to the market. Now, the farmers are already constrained by lack of technical capacity to interpret data. They are not GIS experts. We do not expect them to be. What they need is information that will enable them to, or that will change their behavior and enable them to optimize their investments on the land that they've acquired. So the land, which is a factor of production, basically is now delivering value to the farmer. However, because of this lack of technical capacity to interpret data, the extension personnel within the communities, remember previously I did mention that we recruit and train, empower the youth in the community, most especially women. We focus more on women because we need to change the narrative in the country, especially with regards to the cultural influence, amongst different locations in Nigeria. We want more women to go into digital agriculture, especially using ICT. So with that, the extension staff are the ones that basically interpret the data for the farmer. Let me give you an example. As you can see on the screen, you can see the task that's been put on that location. That location has coordinates. Now, what is the next thing that we do? The extension staff will call up the farmer because the farmer is registered with us. The extension staff will call up the farmer and let the farmer know that, look, there's a problem somewhere on your farm. We need to have a look there. The farmer is thinking like, how do you know? What are you talking about? The extension staff takes the farmer to the farm using the GPS and puts the GPS coordinates in Google Maps, just in case if there's no network, it can use Google Maps offline. It gets to the location and they can collaborate together. They can look at that location to see if to analyze what exactly is going on there. Is it soil? Is it pest? Is it just poor management that is causing this issue that's been discovered there? More often than not, the farmer actually says, oh, there's a problem. So that enables the farmer to look at us like, okay, how do you guys know that there's a problem? Hey, we have this satellite solution that provides this. We're able to monitor your farm every week. We receive notifications in our email when there are changes in the health conditions on your farm. We're able to provide you 14-day weather forecasts. We can see, the topography of your farm. We can monitor the health from planting stage to harvest. We can provide you fertilizer recommendations. But for a start, let's understand what is going on your farm. That is the insight that we provide, the advisory that the farmer needs to be able to optimize the production. So with that, as you can see, the extension staff can interpret this because we've trained the extension staff. The farmer cannot, and is not interested in this anyway, but is interested in the information for management purposes to go into that. So if the farmer, for example, has 5 hectares and is spending 100,000 naira, on fertilizers for the 5 hectares, for sake of argument, now the farmer has to focus on just the area where we've identified as problematic on the farm. The approach is to save costs and for the farmer to be able to have a higher propensity, to save, and also a wider berth, of profit margin. That is how we are able to attribute the technology to improvements in the farmer livelihood. Now, due to the cost of and cost constraints of using drones for multiple farms in multiple locations, because you have to consider logistics, you have to consider, hotels, daily transportation, local transportation. These costs are increasing. You have to pass on that cost to the client. The client cannot support this. You get what I mean? Now the whole point is to democratize the output derivative of the technology to ensure that the farmers get the right access and they're able to use this information with the tutelage or the direction provided by the extension staff and agronomists to be able to make sense of their yield. Now, in doing that, as against the drones, the monitoring platform is able to monitor multiple farms from different locations at the same time. So if you have 1 million farms spread across the 36 states in Nigeria, you can monitor everything, all the 1 million farms at once. Now, with drones, you cannot do that because if our office is based in Akure, for us to work in Sokoto, we have to fly from Akure to Lagos, fly from Lagos to Sokoto. That is over 100,000 naira, or well, maybe 200,000 naira for myself and my team already. That is a problem. Now, with this, there's an increased avenue for cost saving and economies of scale. So we can play around with our cost structure, which makes it a lot easier for us to give discounts, to our farmers. So with that, we have the crop leaderboard, as you can see. The crop leaderboard basically allows you to be able to rate farms based on their productivity. So you can see the top 4 farms, and also the bottom 4 farms. Okay, the bottom 4 farms, what is going on with them? Let me see, especially for farm managers that have multiple farms under them, maybe an agro scheme or, a program like that. So you can see the 4 farms that are doing best and 4 farms that are doing worse. What is going on with the 4 farms that are doing worse? Let's see those ones first. Let's communicate with the farmers. Do they have any problems? Let's visit the farm. So with that, it makes it a lot easier for us to increase or accelerate the technology uptake and catalyze improvements, optimization, not just in cost, but also in yield, from the farm, which is able to create the attraction or the linkage with the market. Like I mentioned earlier, the off-taker is interested in good yield. Poor yield affects the bottom line of the off-taker. So the off-taker needs something that is optimal to be able to make money. So it's only going to deal with farmers that are able to produce optimally. This is the first step into producing optimally. And with that, now, Agroxchange, we also work with academic institutions, and we basically focus, like I mentioned, at the initial stages of this presentation, that one of the key objectives of our partnership with Earth Observation Systems, EOS, is continuous research in digital agriculture for smallholder farmers. How best can we derive better insights, and how well can we propagate this insight using USSD, using mobile apps, to enable the farmers to be able to project, to enable the farmers to be able to reduce possibility of crop loss. Now, there are conditions that the farmers cannot legislate for, neither can we. Whether now we have serious climate conditions. Rains now start in June in Nigeria before you start in March. So that has changed the behavior of the farmers. We need to be able to give them the confidence to be able to think and say, oh, look, we can do this because there's information. Now, as part of that research and development scope, we are currently in talks with University Putra Malaysia through the Nigeria Fly Labs, and also we are in talks with the University of Ibadan regarding how we can promote smart farming in the university curriculum and propagate smart farming in the southwest of Nigeria. And we are also in partnership with Precision Agriculture for Development to provide agronomy advisory to mobile phones using SMS. What we want to do is, instead of layering more costs, we want to optimize what the farmer already has. Now, another issue is there are a lot of farmers, especially in the northern fringes of Nigeria, that do not have telephones. How do we work with these farmers if we're not able to communicate with them? That is why we work with the youth in the communities to be able to communicate with them, either through the community head, so you can let them know, I need to meet with you on Tuesday at 2 p.m. so that we can visit your farms. Or Wednesday at 8 a.m. Please congregate here. We go to your farms from there. There's important information that I need to relay to you. So this basically reduces that. Now, with that in place, we have to take note of some of the services that we look at or that we offer through the Smart Farming Advisory and Technical Center. We provide crop monitoring platform, data access via API, and also custom solutions. Now, all of these form bundled services. And with our partners that we work together under the Smart Farming Advisory and Technical Center, so that we're able to deliver services to the same group of farmers. Is it weather? Is it agronomy services? Is it crop health advisory? All of these, they come together in providing early warning to farmers, so they know that they are guaranteed to for their yield crops to be protected and for them to be able to realize good yield. And lastly, the key expected outcomes or the key outcomes of our approach is democratized and localized fit for purpose smart farming ecosystem. One thing we need to understand is, right, in providing actionable insight, as you can see on your screen, we have the demand and we have the demand and supply. Now, for us to do this, we need to understand again the market that we're providing these services to. It has to be fit for purpose. It needs to suit their purpose. It doesn't have to go overboard. How would they be able to pay for it? Okay, say we're giving them IoTs and all that. How can they pay for it? Are they going to pay for it through cooperatives? Would the cooperatives be able to convince the farmers that they need to pay for this? Now, remember, the farmer hasn't experienced this before, and he has to grow the crop, then harvest it. So if you're telling the farmer that, hey, I want you to pay $200 for this, right? And you're going to get this. Hey, I'm not sure, as a farmer, I'm not sure how I'll get it. You've not shown that to me. So that means the platform, as you can see, has to be democratized. You need to be able to reduce the cost to be able to manage how you deliver the service. And next is creating job opportunities for youth in digital agriculture and extension services. So like I said, we focus on empowering youth within communities to be able to apply this technology. The youth, they like technology. That's the success part of what they want to do. Some youth, they go into farming, some youth, they don't want to, but they want to get the knowledge and apply this technology. So we focus on that. And again, because of the proximity of the youth to the farmers, they live in the same community. Some of them are well educated, they have bachelor's degrees, but again, because of the dearth of jobs, they have to be doing something. So that is where we come in. We build their capacity, we mentor them to be able to understand that, look, this is an area for you to go into. And because we create the ecosystems, right, it makes it a lot easier for there to be increased uptake. Now, this brings us to the issue of increased uptake of digital technologies for agriculture, especially for small-scale producers or smallholder farmers. So with that, it makes it a lot easier to be able to, for the farmers to continue to request for this information. At the moment they don't get it, they will bombard you with calls, or they bombard us with calls, as the case may be. You know, they really need this information. So with this output, we're able to achieve the key SDGs, and including climate action, not just job creation or women empowerment, but climate action as well. That we cannot look, because climate resilience is a trending topic right now, not for the right reasons, but for the wrong reasons. You get what I mean? You know, food security is critical, and if food security is poor, the cost of food in the market is going to increase. Remember, with a case of Nigeria, which is developing economies, you know, I mean, you can imagine the sort of problems that will exist if food increases, and basically considering inflation and all that, which we're already experiencing right now. We feel strongly that this is a way out for some of the issues that we're experiencing in the country relating to creating job opportunities, you know, strengthening food security, and also strengthening policy environment for scaling agribusiness and digital innovations in Nigeria, and by extension, West Africa. The data that is collected forms baseline, evidence-based baseline data that can influence, or, you know, policies, agricultural policies regarding innovation, technology innovations. That is why we work with universities or the academia to be able to come up with this in supporting governments regarding embedding technology innovation in the policies. I'll use this opportunity to also mention that at the moment, the National Information Technology Development Agency, NIDA, has come up with a smart farming policy, you know, for agriculture, which is, I believe is still under review. It's a good attempt. This has to exist so that the delivery can be better monitored and can be better, can be delivered to be able to deliver value for the for the smallholder farmers. And lastly, is increased returns on investment for farmers and improved livelihoods. As you can see on the screen, you can see the level of ROI that is accruable to the farmers. So this is the level that we want to get to be able to save the farmers money and make them more money, so that they're able to spend more, right, and commit more investment on agriculture and expand over time, or carry out more intensive farming activities. And with that, I come to the end of my presentation, and I thank you very much for listening, and I hope you'll be able to learn a thing or two about smart farming in Nigeria with regards to small-scale producers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adewale. I think it was very informative and definitely interesting. And I just have to add one comment from my side, considering that we don't only focus on Africa, like EOSDA doesn't only focus on Africa, but also we work with other farmers around the world. And the issue is always, how can I simplify the data? Because, for example, when a non-so-tech savvy farmer looks at this data, they're like, okay, what can I understand from this technology? How can I interpret, for example, what NDVI means or what this kind of data tells me? So I think the role here for any company that provides satellite data is to find the right kind of partners who are able to extract the data from satellites and then simplify the data and deliver the end results to the farmers That way, the farmer will just understand, okay, this is where I have, let's say, a problem in. For example, this is an area where we have a red patch that could indicate, for example, lack of soil moisture, or an increase, for example, in temperature, or maybe floods or droughts even, that could result in a lower NDVI. And this is what sort of the farmer needs to look at. Okay, this is what I have. This is the problem what I have, and then I need to solve this issue. And this is where the role of partners come in. They look at the data, they simplify it, and tell and advise the farmer what they should do. Like, okay, in order to protect the crop, or in order to have a higher yield outcome at the end, you need to, to follow these steps in order to make sure that we're gonna combat these problems, and we're gonna have a higher yield down the line. So, I mean, there is a lot to cover, but I don't want to take much time here. So I'm just gonna pass on the floor to Uzoamaka. So please go ahead.
Thank you, Reem. My name is Uzoamaka Ugochuchkwu. I'm the Country Launch Manager for Precision Agriculture for Development. What is really important about precision development is that on this topic of opportunities in delivering results with digital agriculture, there's so much opportunities in this, and it's really important that we understand that. So PSD is a non-profit organization with mission to support people living in extreme poverty by providing customized digital information and services that increase productivity, profitability, and environmental possibility. We're also very concerned about sustainability. Now, we have established a new model for digital extension, reaching farmers with personalized advice through their mobile phones. We implement this model in collaboration with partner organizations, governments, and we gather evidence on its impact. Now, we aim to improve the lives of 100 million farmers in developing countries with our services and support to existing systems. We collaborate with in-country partners who are very interested to work with governments and multilateral institutions to reach users with mobile-based personalized advice. We also gather evidence of this impact because it is very important. Using our two-way communication and information aggregation, we offer our users valuable and practical information. We also offer customized information to their geography, to their market and characteristics. PSD incorporates insight from behavioral economics, human-centered design, and social learning theory. We also make use of A/B testing and data science to identify what type of information and delivery mechanism works best for our users. We understand that the farmers we reach are the most important beneficiaries, and we don't intend to leave them at any step of the way. Furthermore to the work we do, we want to make sure that we're reaching the smallholder farmers in sub-Saharan Africa and now working in Nigeria in the Northeast. This is fragile, conflict-affected setting where there's lack of telecommunication devices. In some areas, non-state security actors have taken over the security apparatus of the state, and you have farmers being slayed on their farm. We see the opportunity with digital agriculture to bridge that gap. More importantly, why are we doing what we're doing? We understand that smallholder farmers heat 70% of the world's poorest. We all know that global food demands continue to grow. However, the need is not there. Climate change, soil and water restraint is at the worst. What are the opportunities to serve? This is where information exists. But farmers don't have access to that information, and we stand to bridge this gap. Mobile phones, we have come to understand, enable access at scale, and farmer-level data enables customization. What have our learnings taught us? At PSD, we understand that we can leverage scale and design two-way information systems to learn, to innovate, and iterate for impact. At scale, all our projects demonstrate improved economics of scale associated with reduced marginal costs. Critically, from a learning perspective, we know that at scale we give access to richer user data. And this is complemented by rigorous experimentation and testing. And this contributes to more efficient learning. That is what we are all about. We learn and innovate by intentionally drawing on and synthesizing economic theory, empirical evidence, local knowledge, and user feedback. By continuously harnessing feedback loops, we progressively iterate and improve the quality and impact of our advisory content. The quality and the efficacy of our service delivery is important to us for us to make the most impact in the lives of our smallholder farmers. Our research is a global public good. We contribute to the knowledge base for all practitioners and researchers active in this sector, and we use our findings to improve the quality of our services as well as to inform the services that our partners offer. Wherever possible, we make our learnings, innovation publicly available. An interesting thing about how we work is that at every stage of our service design, we ensure that it is informed by user experience and rigorous research. Therefore, our interventions and the improvements we make are those that are evidence-led and evidence-based. We continue to monitor our programs to the point that at every stage of service design and delivery, we generate insights on how to serve our users better. We rigorously test this insight, and at scale, these systems allow us to gather large amounts of direct feedback from users in order to continuously improve our performance. We also conduct A/B testing, comparing two or more service design options to assess which is preferred or more effective to our smallholder farmers. The point of this is to improve rapid upgrades to our content and service delivery. To date, PAD has conducted over 60 A/B tests, drawing on insights from our program data, external behavioral science evidence, best practices amongst peer organizations to design these tests. Now we're able to iterate improvement for user experience, and we're able to deliver more appropriate and accessible customized information because of how we deliver. These are just a few opportunities in this sector. More importantly, what is our theory of change? These are the indicators to monitor and to evaluate. Our 4 high levels are to acquire or increase user engagement. Then we have to reduce friction and barriers. Thirdly, we change farmer behavior. Above all, we improve farmer or household welfare. On user engagement, we've come to realize that we have to register users, we have to make and hope that they make referrals to other smallholder farmers. More importantly, when we push our advisory services in the local language of the smallholder farmer, be it Hausa, Igbo, or Yoruba, we want to improve the listening rate. More importantly, we want them to pick up these calls. The content they access, how do they relate to digital information? How do they assimilate? And how do they place questions? More importantly is the fact that questions can be recorded on the Q&A hotline, and the user rating and satisfaction can be gathered from this. To reduce friction and barriers, we understand that user comprehension of PAD content is very important. Therefore, this is done in their local languages. We want to be the people that understand English is not the only way to communicate with our smallholder farmers. We ensure that there's ability to answer agronomic related questions in their local dialect as well. There are measurements for the aspirations and motivations to ensure that we reduce all sorts of barriers to digital technology. To change farmer behavior, the adoption of recommended inputs is important to us. How smallholder farmers relate to what they learn from us and how they implement it, it's more than important, because this is what we want to do to change lives. The adoption of those recommended farming practices is of quintessential importance, because then we know that we are adding value. On improvement of farmers' welfare, especially at the household level, increase in their crop yields, livestock production, crop loss avoidance, farmer net income, as well as the benefit cost ratio. All round, PSD theory of change ensures that at every moment of the way, we have indicators to monitor and evaluate the work we do and how we add value. On this note is the fact that We deploy human-centered design practices to continuously improve our understanding of our users, and we design products and interface that meet our users at the very point of their need, including design for low literacy, technology-centered among very low-income users. We use experiment and trials to systematically make impact and feed this information back into our system over time so we can improve what we offer to our smallholder farmers. Now we engage with, learn from, and contribute to academic and policy research in behavioral science and other aspects of social science. Research has shown us that mobile phone-based agricultural extension services can increase the adoption of optimized farming practices to improve productivity, yield, and support sustainability, especially that of the environment. We're very proud of the work we're doing, and there are certain key elements that differentiate our model. It's low-cost communication, very affordable. Currently, we are at $1.30 per farmer for a year. I think this is really good. Wouldn't you agree with me? Such a cheap way to support our smallholder farmers, very affordable. The data science, a lot of data, rigorous analysis goes into this. There is no assumption. We are learning from our smallholder farmers and we're making a huge impact to how they are engaging with their age-old farming practices. On iteration and learning, randomized control trials, making sure that it is robust in learning and research to support our smallholder farmers. On customization and targeting, no two farmers are the same, no two regions are the same, no two lands are the same, no two soils are the same. Understanding that everything is customized to serve the smallholder farmer better is where we come in. It is free to the user, they do not have to pay for this. And even when they call back, toll free, they do not have to pay for it. This is really important because we are working with the poorest of the poor farmers in our locality, and it's very important that as we bring digital agriculture to them, we make it readily available and very cheap. On the note of the impact of digital advisory services from rigorous evaluations, we have seen that over 4% average yield gains. We have seen at least 22% average increase in recommended farming practices. We've seen a benefit cost ratio of 10:1 and large variation in impact estimates across our studies. We're very excited about the information we are learning because we know that there are changes to our farmers. We've seen how well-designed messages can change farmers' behavior. We can see how changes in farmers' behavior has increased yield. We can also see that at scale, our interventions are very cost-effective due to the low cost. Our A/B test generates insights for user engagement, which is continuously increasing. We're seeing increase in user engagement that has led to improved knowledge and comprehension. More importantly, expanding the evidence base. The true impact of hard work is likely to be larger and would actually increase over time, as we have seen. PSD research agenda, we continue to focus on mechanisms that will improve outcome for farmers and other users. And we see how our evidence base has continued to improve outcomes, increase yield, also averted crop loss, improve farm profitability, as well as increasing cost effectiveness of our services. This is very vital to know that the impact of digital agricultural advisory services from rigorous evaluation cannot be overemphasized. On how PAD has responded to COVID-19, we've seen ongoing operations, so uninterrupted PSD services, while traditional in-person extension is suspended. At the height of COVID, we were able to deliver agronomic advisory services to our smallholder farmers because it's digital agriculture. At a time where people could not go into the field, we were still serving. I think this is a huge opportunity in digital agriculture that should be embraced. Continuing to add thousands of new farmers every month and serving our smallholder farmers has been a delight. We started in 2 countries, Nigeria, like I mentioned earlier, and Colombia, remotely. Can you believe that? That is the opportunity of digital agriculture. What other means can you serve people at a time like that? Research and data collection. Our survey from farmers, agro-dealer, and the people we serve continue to show us that we're adding value at a way that is exponentially important. On the work we continue to do and continue to serve to make sure that they all receive the agronomic advisory services that they need in Uganda, in India, in Kenya, and yes, in other states of Nigeria where we currently serve and add value to the smallholder farmers. I would like to say that small changes in agriculture practices can substantially improve productivity and profitability. However, farmers need to slowly welcome the idea of digital agriculture. They need to be aware that huge changes can be made and sustainable development can be achieved. And at PSD, this is something we have come to do well through mobile soil analysis lab with spectroscopy, improve access to high quality soil data through satellite and drone photograph that enable data collection and validation. Through new data prediction models, we're able to generate real-time estimates that are useful to farmers. Widespread mobile phone use has facilitated information delivery and collection. This is all possible through digital agriculture. In a developing country like Nigeria, new technology, as in digital agriculture, is transforming agricultural production. It's allowing farmers to better target inputs and management decisions to local condition. Now, many of this technology are beyond reach of individual farmers, but through PSD, they are able to access several technological innovation that have created new opportunities to provide customized information to the farmers. This technology, especially at PSD, is coupled with research to improve information content and also our messaging effectiveness. Behavioral economics improves the messaging and encourage adoption. Social learning theory facilitates the division of relevant information so we know that smallholder farmers are sharing knowledge with others. Big data and machine learning allows for personalized advice so that smallholder farmers can get the advice that is customized to them. A/B tests that allow near instantaneous upgrade to the best possible service delivery method, and randomized control trials that make for rigorous evaluation. These are just some of the opportunities of digital agriculture that we have come to achieve in Nigeria in the past 9 months that we've been operating and around the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Uzoamaka. Very informative, I must say. But now, considering that we only have 1 hour left and we have 2 speakers and we have the Q&A session, without further ado, Dr. Siva, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Rim. Firstly, I'd like to thank the organizers for having me in this meeting. I also like to acknowledge my co-developer of this content, Dr. Redmond Samshiri, who has come from Germany. So I'm going to talk to you about precision agriculture and how, precision agriculture has been transforming into digital agriculture. In between, it's gone through the feature of smart farming and things like that. So before that, let me just walk you through some of the details on precision agriculture. Precision agriculture is predicted to be a multi-billion industry by 2025. One of the main reasons for this is because of global food demand playing a large factor in the need for increased farm productivity. I know farm productivity is a very old problem. It has been through many metamorphoses, if you will. The problems have become much more severe these days because we are battling with, the problem of climate change, food insecurity, and there's so many other problems that are affecting the landscape of agriculture today. So what precision agriculture brings to the table is what I can show you here in this diagram. Precision agriculture is a 3-step process. But the trick here is it is a cyclic process. You start with gathering information, and the tools for gathering information is shown here. from GPS to yield monitors to sensors and things like that. And once you have this information, as the previous speakers spoke about, information is really the new wealth. And the more information you have, the better. So of course, you have to contextualize this information. You have to process and analyze this information so that it makes some sense, So for that, you have the tools, and these are all classical components of precision agriculture. There are more tools that have been added into the toolbox. And once you have processed this information, you have made some sense out of it, then of course you're in good shape to implement change. And even to implement change, you have tools for that. Variable rate application, decision support system, and so on. So, but the buck doesn't stop there. You have to go back to the whole process of gathering information again, because we acknowledge in precision agriculture that we have variability that happens from season to season, leave alone from one part of the field to the other. So this kind of variability, will change the dynamics. It will change the narratives for management. And so therefore, you have to capture all this by getting more information as you go along in your seasons. And you might encounter new problems to solve, or some interacting problems, and so on. So the big question mark in precision agriculture for the past 20, 25 years, even 30 years, has been really what type of information do farmers need to know? So this is where a lot of research has gone into action, a lot of empowerment work and so on. The social scientists have been very helpful with this. But at the end of the day, this is $1 million question, if you ask me. Because there is no one right set of information that will apply to all farmers. It really depends on your cropping system. It really depends on your yield goals and your yield profiles and things like that. So to me personally, I think one of the most important sets of decisions you will have to take in your field is, the economics of it. For example, how do you, plan your next season? How do you manage your resources and things like that? So for that, you need that ability and power to be able to forecast yield and your profit. So you need to close the gap on accuracy when doing this, So it may not give you 100% accuracy, but at least you need to get close to that. So this is where precision agriculture has been very powerful. It gives you that ability to use information at hand and to use the tools to manipulate these workings of these tools so that you can close the gap with regards to forecasting your yields and also your profits. Now, from a practical perspective, if you look at precision agriculture and why is it advantageous or how is it advantageous, looking at this field, this is a common field, and you can see here the yields in this field are quite variable. So because of that, the economics will be very variable as well. So if you have data that shows where are your profitability margins within that field, for example, which areas are highly profitable, which areas can cover all cost, or perhaps which area can cover variable cost, and importantly, which areas are giving you a loss. You see, so this is the type of information a farmer needs, and the farmer needs this kind of information in a very easy platform or easy way. So one of the things that precision agriculture has really been good at is showing you the visuals of what's happening in your field. So in this case here, safe to say that we are able to map out the bottom line. And this information is very, very important and crucial. So in my opinion, I think farmers will have to embrace this concept in order to be sustainable. If not, it's going to be, shooting in the dark, and you won't know what's going to happen the next season and so on. So this is something which precision agriculture has been very consistent at. Moving on. Okay. So nevertheless, 30 years of precision agriculture has shown us something here. There is a problem with precision agriculture. One of the key challenges of precision agriculture would be probably technology structure. And I've been talking a lot about this over the past few years, where precision agriculture is really information intensive, and it is not embodied knowledge. For example, embodied knowledge can be seen in technologies like hybrid seeds or GMO, where you can just give the farmer the seed and he or she goes out and plants the seed, and in 3 months or 4 months, you have about 20% higher yields. The farmer is happy and so forth. But the farmer doesn't need to understand the complex genetics that went into creating hybrid seeds. So in our case, in precision agriculture, because precision agriculture is quite fragmented, it is bits and pieces of different systems coming together. Some of it are related, some of it may not be related. So the integration part of precision agriculture is still a little bit messy. So we need to think about how we can transform precision agriculture into embodied knowledge so that end users can understand better without having to understand the complex science behind it. So this is something which I think we have realized this for a long time, and because of that, there has been a very consistent move to turn precision agriculture into embodied knowledge. And one of the offshoots from this, or the spin-offs from this, has been digital farming. So as we move on with So I'd just like to highlight to you, when precision agriculture first started in the 1990s, it was first commercialized in the US in 1990. So I would like to term it as the first 25 years, because in 2015, we really observed a change. This information is coming out from a little work which the International Society of Precision Agriculture, ISPA, did a couple of years ago. Where we looked into several technical publications, and we actually analyzed them. There was a global committee on this, and I was happy to have sat in it. And we looked at the trend of research and outputs coming from a lot of technical work, and we found that there has been a shift. So in the classical age of the first 25 years, the narrative for precision agriculture has been efficient farm. So these are the components of precision agriculture that started out the whole concept of precision agriculture, from remote sensing, positioning systems, decision support system, AI, GIS, and also variable rate application. So these were the classical components that kicked off precision agriculture. And in 2015, we found that there was a slight shift. A lot of work were going on using sensors, and they were not necessarily remote sensors, but they were also proximal sensors. Positioning systems stayed on. Decision support systems started taking a shift because it started, a lot of people were talking about communication systems. Telematics came in, and then there was a lot of emphasis towards merging AI with other deliverables, for example, GIS and remote sensing and all that. So we grouped all of them into what is known as data analytics. And then there was a lot of interest in coming up with hardware and software systems. So a lot of these components got tweaked, and it seemed like precision agriculture has morphed into something else, digital agriculture. I purposely left this gap open here because it's not completely been taken over, but there's still a lot of interaction between the classical precision agriculture and the current approach of digital agriculture. And we will start talking more about that. Okay. So the rise of digital agriculture in part has been caused by these 4 important factors. And real-time sensing of farms using long-range wireless data acquisition systems is now a reality. It's not so difficult to do that. Applying artificial intelligence and information processing tools for enhancing data accuracy is also being done, right? So, and then the use of cloud storage for data sharing. This is also a reality today. Creating mobile applications to make data useful for farmers and growers. Remember, I talked about that need for communication systems. This is it. And so with these 4 pillars, digital agriculture kind of rose in style. And so today, the talk of digital agriculture is no longer a plan or an action plan. No. It's a reality, and it's already happening. There's so many examples around the world where, I've seen this in India, I've seen this in Pakistan, I've seen this in Colombia. I've seen how people have started the groundwork of digital farming, and it's bearing a lot of good results. So moving on. Okay, so this is the thing about digital agriculture. We have to understand the classical response, or the classic response to higher yield, was larger machinery. I'm sure engineers in the room will understand this. The bigger your machines, it meant, the higher your yields. That was a story that was probably 10, 15 years ago. Now today, modern response to higher yield is really smart machinery. We're talking about smaller machines or gadgets that, for example, drones. These are all, the design today we have. It's no longer about large machinery and things like that, because it takes more to maintain those machines and so on. So today we are shifting, the narrative from larger machinery to smarter machinery. And the building blocks of digital agriculture are super wide. You talk about smart sensors, you talk about AI, you talk about virtual farms, automation and control. Of course, and one of my favorite topics is Internet of Things. And big data, inevitably goes in because of the large volume of data you're handling. And unmanned aerial vehicles like drones, robotics, deep learning, because we're very concerned with data accuracy. And without machine learning and deep learning, it's going to be hard for you to come up with accurate predictions. And one of the things which Redmond Samshiri is quite active in is wireless sensors. And wireless sensors are very, very important in this whole agenda for digital agriculture, because I'll show you in later slides, the need to capture data in a timely fashion. That is what is going to give you a lot of implications on how your crops are performing in the field. So with wireless sensors, it makes the job easy. And then, of course, the whole concept of precision management. So these are really the building blocks of digital agriculture. When people talk about digital agriculture, it's good to have, a good coverage of these topics or these protocols, so that, the integration can be much more effective. Okay. The slide shuffling is a bit slow. I hope it's not because of the size of the slide. Okay, so here's the problem. So a farmer typically would be interested to understand what is the soil temperature at a particular point. And that point might be, say, 2 kilometers away. And it's good to note that at that point, there's no internet connection available. There's no mobile phone coverage. There's no electricity. So, these are some of the practical challenges you can face. So how do we go about with this? And so this is where real-time measurement or monitoring comes into play. Please bear with me. I think the slide shuffling is a little slow. Okay, so the solution here lies in this whole concept called real-time measurement. So the good thing about digital agriculture is it allows for real-time measurement of, in this case, soil temperature, or it could be any other measurable parameter in the field. And this is done with the help of the following technologies, which are very available out there in the market. And I believe a lot of these technologies will get more affordable as time goes by, because that's the way these technologies can survive anyway. And so I like to, you know, whenever we talk about cost, I see in the chat there's a lot of talk about cost and so on. But you know, let's face it. You know, if we look at the cell phone, when the first time the cell phone was released, you know, it was a lot of money. And today you can get, you know, a cheap cell phone which can do, you know, so much of functions more than your, you know, your older phones. So this is where I think technology, the lifespan of technology or the dynamics of technology works around, you know. So I believe that a lot of these technologies are going to become very affordable for people to use or deploy. Wireless sensors network, low power wide area networks, Internet of Things, application software. This is very important, especially with mobile apps, dashboards, and so on. So these are some of the enablers that will make digital agriculture meaningful and possible, you know, especially in trying to solve real world problems. So as we speak about digital agriculture and real-time monitoring, so I like to, you know, highlight to you that when you talk about real-time measurement, it's good to look at, you know, this whole concept of wireless versus Internet of Things. So in wireless monitoring, which has been there for some time, you know, we talk about this monitoring system where the receiver node stores data on a local host. Therefore, data access is limited. So the point here is, you know, whatever information that is getting transmitted, you know, from the sensor to your monitoring device here, it goes through, you know, repeater nodes and so on. So it's all still quite individualized. And the distance between the sender and the monitoring device can vary from a few meters to hundreds of kilometers, depending on the communication protocols and architecture of the repeater nodes. So this, in effect, might be, you know, a challenge. Sometimes, you know, depending on the type of protocols you use, the data might not be, you know, captured in the best way. And then, of course, you have, over the past few years, people have been talking about the Internet of Things for monitoring. And in an IoT monitoring system, the receiver node uploads data on a web server. So data is accessible by any device that is connected to the web. So this simplifies a lot of things. But, you know, one of the things that has enabled this IoT monitoring is the cloud storage. Because of the large volume of data, and you can see here, the repeater nodes are operating as a team here. And because of that, you cut down on a lot of distortion, you cut down on a lot of other technical issues, which clearly gives a better outcome. So here's where IoT, you know, plays a very important role. And I think this is going to be the next wave in agriculture, because people are talking about, you know, disruptive technologies that are going to redefine the practice of agriculture. And IoT is going to be phenomenal in this sense. And I'll show you some of the benefits that we're going to get from IoT. Okay, so here's a use case on IoT monitoring. This was done with my colleague Redmond and a few others. So we looked at IoT monitoring greenhouse in Iran with LoRa connectivity. And you can see here, because it's web-based, it's web-friendly, so you can access it on the web. And you can have it accessed in any location. So this is the advantage of IoT. And so we were looking at, you know, basic parameters, temperature, humidity, and wetness, and things like that. So this is something which is quite interesting. You would want to read more about this. We have this publication recently out in the journal called Census. A lot of details are given there. So we're looking at, you know, how to look at how to, you know, fuse this data for determining the optimality of microclimatic parameters in commercial greenhouse tomato. So this is an interesting piece of work which we carried out recently. And okay, I'm ready with my last slide, I guess. So, okay, so in this slide, I'm going to share with you what is the real motivation behind using IoT for real-time monitoring. So to simplify things, IoT is really a supervisory tool for real-time monitoring of physical changes in crop growth environment and at any location. And then, of course, it also allows you to understand the influence of environmental parameters. This is very, very important these days, especially in the face of climate change. For example, determining the relationship between air temperature and soil temperature for root zone cooling or heating. So these are very important parameters to monitor in the field because, as you know, with climate change, we are getting a lot of variability when it comes to rainfall and temperature and sun hours and things like that. And then the ability to predict changes to avoid yield loss. So this is also very powerful, especially when you talk about early disease detection or prediction of drought stress or whatever other environmental stress you have. And sometimes, this is complicated because depending on the type of environmental stress, you get new types of pests in the field. You get interactive problems with your nutrient uptake and things like that. So the agronomy can become a disaster because of climate uncertainties. So these are some of the practical things that are happening out in the field. Sometimes they're so subtle that you are unable to really detect this. And so you start assuming. And that's where the problem lies, So immediate response to sudden changes. This is also very powerful because our management schemes in farms can be subject to a lot of cost benefit ratios, for example. So the type of fertilizer you're using, the type of chemicals, and the irrigation protocols, and all that can be very much dependent on the economics for that moment, right? So we've seen this with oil palm, for example. Sometimes when the chips are down, especially when commodity prices are not doing so well, the first thing they do is to cut down on fertilizer application. And that's going to be quite disastrous because, the response of fertilizer in oil palm, for example, can be quite long. Nitrogen probably takes about 6 months. Potassium can take up to 2 years to show response. So in between that interval, you have lost that opportunity of making money because the crops are not performing well due to your cutting of fertilizer load. You see, so these are some of the practical problems. So with IoT, you are able to do this monitoring and make better decisions. Predicting yield for market analysis and harvesting costs and also transportation costs. I think this is also very important. And so these are some of the things which has motivated a lot of monitoring schemes using IoT. And I think this is where the future lies. So I'd like to also reiterate before I leave you with, for the next speaker, I'd like to reiterate one point here. When we talk about modern day farming, I think farmers must feel good about it because most farmers have a cell phone. And, the cell phone is one of the most powerful tools because there's so many things you can do. And I read somewhere that, modern day smartphones are about 120 million times more powerful than the mission that landed Apollo 11 on the moon. Seriously, I mean, that computer system that was on board to land Apollo 11 on the moon didn't have this kind of sophistication in terms of processing and storage power compared to what your modern day handphone has. So that's something quite liberating. And I think if we can deliver the science in an effective way to farmers through their cell phones in a simplified way, where they can make better decisions in the farm, I think we're going to go a very long way, in a better way. Huh? So with that, thank you for your attention, and I'll be happy to take questions later.
All right, thank you, Dr. Siva. Ajit, considering we only have 30 minutes, please take it away.
Sure. Thank you, Rim. Hi, everyone. So I am going to be talking about the technology that powers the agricultural data collection and the analytics that you need to run on top of this data, right? So before I dive into that, I want to give a quick brief of what AWS is. So I'm a solutions architect with AWS, and AWS stands for Amazon Web Services. AWS is a cloud computing platform which provides cloud computing and storage and many other services related to IT services across the globe in 25 geographical locations that you can see as blue dots on these on the map here. And these are not just some geographical locations with some servers, but these are highly available zones with multiple data centers in each of these locations. Now, why is this important? It is because these cloud computing services are available to you from a region which is closer to you, and it really allows you to leverage low latency computing applications or computing and storage services from an area or from a location which is closest to you, right? And we are continually expanding the reach of our cloud computing network to more and more regions. So the orange dots that you see on this map are upcoming regions, and I can assure you that we are only growing at a faster clip year over year. So why customers choose AWS? You must have heard of many other cloud computing platforms, and AWS is one of them. However, AWS has been around for the longest time. We have over 14 years of experience and have helped millions of customers build their analytics workloads, build their data analytics on cloud, right? And the span of AWS, which is 25 geographic regions actually, and it spans over 80 availability zones with multiple data centers, really allows customers to build the applications in a region that they choose to, and in a region that is most relevant and most pertinent to them, right? Uh, we have the most security features. So when you are building on a cloud computing platform like AWS, you have the right set of security features that allow you to be compliant for your regulatory requirements, which may be based on the country that you are in, which may be based on the customers that you are supporting, and so on. We have been reducing our price since our inception. We have a history of price reduction, and we have reduced prices 77 times since 2006. What the takeaway from that is that when you run on AWS, your workloads are continually reducing or becoming more optimal in cost. So you are able to get more efficient with your resource usage. And as we already saw with the previous presentations, the amount of data that is being generated today in agriculture, and the amount of information that we can capture from it requires processing like machine learning and artificial intelligence. And 81% of all deep learning machine learning algorithms are actually running on AWS. So this gives you really the confidence on platform as such, and it gives you the ability to pick and choose the right level of services, the right kind of computing services that you may need for your analytics application. And I see there was a question as well around how the data that we or how the amount of data that we are capturing, how the analytics that we need to do to achieve digital agriculture and precision agriculture can be sustainable in terms of cost and in terms of democratization to end customers. And I'm going to be talking to you about that and how AWS plays a role in there, right? So We already have seen that data is transforming every business, not just agriculture, but businesses like finance, ad tech, medical. Every business is using data to make more meaningful insights, to make better decisions, and to become more efficient. And agriculture is no exception. Data is transforming the way we are doing agriculture, and we have already seen that in the previous talks. And as Dr. Siva also mentioned, like the more there are different kinds of data that we are collecting, and the more data we collect, it gives us more ability to make our crop yield better. So now we have data available from satellite imagery, from drones, from weather information, from genomics of our crop, from IoT sensors which are in our soil, and also anecdotal data which is available from marketplace and from third-party providers, right? And this is humongous amount of data, but all this data is really a gold mine where we can leverage this data, use analytics, and use artificial intelligence and machine learning to get better efficiency from our agronomic applications, to make our crop yields better, to make to make agriculture more sustainable, right? So what happens, like when we are dealing with this much of data, what is the challenge? The real challenge that comes with such a humongous scale is the cost, right? And you all, as already can imagine, satellite imageries go, a single satellite image can be in tens of gigabyte if it is a high resolution image. And then you have data coming in from weather, data coming in from your IoT sensors, and so on. So, what has really stopped customers or end users to really leverage analytics or move into the digital agriculture space was the cost associated with acquiring this data and storing this data. In fact, most customers that are in, or startups that are in this space, would not even exist if they had to store all this data in their on premises, in their own servers, or even say, for example, a virtual machine running in cloud. The cost is just prohibitive. So here AWS services like AWS Ground Station comes really handy, where you can schedule a contact with a satellite like say aqua satellite from NASA, or other public satellites, and you can directly downlink that data from the satellite using AWS Ground Station with the pay as you go model. So you schedule a contact for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, downlink that data, get that data into your storage, process it, and get insights from it, and you only pay per minute. You don't have to manage any ground stations yourself, which itself costs millions to set up, right? So one aspect is that. Other aspects are programs like AWS Open Data, where where providers like Copernicus provide data from Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2, Sentinel-3, and you can get this data directly from open data free of cost for storage. So you don't really have to pay for the storage of this data, but access this data from these open data program and use it in your own analytics use cases. And then there is a program like AWS Data Exchange, in which you can subscribe to data sources from proficient providers like EOS Data, say for example, which can provide you with very a precise data about your crop, about your farms, and then you can use that data on a subscription model from them, and leverage that for your own analytics use cases. So all these services are really allowing you to reduce the cost on acquiring data, and they don't require you to store data in your own environment. So you have this large amount of data sets available in different spaces, and then you can leverage these data sets to bring it to kind of do your own inferences and build your own analytics, if you will. And finally, services like Amazon or AWS SageMaker, which is a machine learning service, allows you to leverage all these data sets and build your machine learning models without actually having to manage your machine learning ecosystem. So you don't need GPU powered instances to be running in your own environment. SageMaker manages it for you, so you only focus on creating the intelligence layer and not managing these extremely complex libraries and the ecosystem that comes with the machine learning bit, right? So the value that cloud computing brings, or AWS cloud computing brings, is it lets you and innovate in the application that you are building for digital agriculture and precision agriculture, while offloading the heavy lifting of the IT and the analytics bit that comes with it, and taking care for the end customer. So as an example, I want to take an example of Blue Dot. Blue Dot is an NGO which monitors over 13,000 water bodies using satellite imaging, crowdsourcing, ground truthing, custom labels, and online detection. What Blue Dot has done is they have automated their pipeline for ingesting data from Sentinel-2, and they were also able to go back into historical data using AWS's open data program and gather all that data from Sentinel-2 historically, so that they could build the model all the way from 2016 into 2020 and so on. Now, these are all satellite imagery and they are well over 5 petabytes. Just imagine that this data itself, to just store in your own data centers or own servers, would cost you over $1 million per year. However, because Blue Dot was able to manage this data using the open data program and not really storing there in their own environment, they were able to do or monitor over 13,000 water bodies with just few $100 per month of budget. And the exact budget breakdown was $400 for processing, initial processing of those images, some $10 for AWS infrastructure cost, and then $100 of subscription cost for Sentinel Hub, which is used to organize their map layers and ingestion pipeline. So this really gives you a practical example of how you can really at a low cost create very meaningful applications, very powerful applications using all the data and all the information that is available to you readily. So moving on, as you as with the satellite imagery resolution, like it goes from coarse to medium to fine. So if you look at Sentinel-2 data, which is coarse at 10-meter resolution, and then you may have your own satellites which can provide you with a better resolution using your own sensors, better resolution sensors, or you can go to even better resolution using drone imagery, right? So this defines what the data set is going to be like. The imagery resolution also defines how large the data set, or how granular the data set is going to be, and it kind of is proportional to these. So just the way the satellite imagery resolution can be seen, even the data core resolution can be seen in a similar way. So when you look at a core satellite imagery, you can easily access these from AWS open data programs, from say Sentinel 1 or Sentinel 2 data, directly from AWS open data. And these are coarse data sets because they are not specific to some particular region, but they are monitoring the entire say geography. Moving to medium level of imagery, you can actually subscribe to some satellite providers who can monitor a very specific portion of your field and provide you with a much better resolution for that images and for that geography, and it can be very easily accessed using data exchange. So you just subscribe to their program, to just subscribe to their data, and you can access that data from AWS Data Exchange. And finally, if you have your own proprietary data from your images from drone or from your IoT sensors, you can store them at very low cost in AWS services like Amazon S3, which allows you to store at a virtually unlimited amount of storage at an extremely low storage and access cost. And if you have relational data, structured data, there are services like relational database service and DynamoDB, which allow you to store in data in more structured format. So this slide is really to showcase that whatever your use case may be, whatever your requirements may be with respect to your data storage, you can essentially find a service for you in AWS, which you can leverage and offload that heavy lifting to AWS. So this slide just gives you the an overview of partners or third party data providers that are available with different programs, right? So you may have your own data ingestion from different methods like IoT sensors or drone imagery. However, you can even capture or get data from, say, European Space Agency data set, Copernicus Hub, or from, say, NASA's data hub, and you can enrich your own data set using these programs. So you really have this ability, and you're not limited to just one ingestion method, but you have this entire ecosystem that you can leverage to make build your application. So this I want to focus on in or stress on because this really is very cloud native, right? So if you look at traditional approach of analyzing your data, uh, say for example, if you're doing it in your own on premises, you have these storage servers like, say, SAN boxes or NAS boxes on which you store your data, and then when you have to do some analysis, you actually have to move that data into a computing environment. It really becomes extremely expensive. And if you want to do machine learning, then that's a completely different environment altogether, and you have to move that data into the other environment. So each of these environments really need to support that kind of scale and data handling ability, right? However, with cloud computing and with AWS, what you do is you never move your data. You capture the data at one point, which is generally an S3 bucket, which is, as I mentioned, an object store, which allows you to store virtually unlimited amount of data, and you bring your processing to that storage, right? So you don't move the data anywhere because it's just too expensive. You move, if you want to run a Hadoop MapReduce cluster on your data, you can run it on Amazon EMR and then directly access data in S3 bucket. If you want to run some SQL based queries, just some select queries, you can directly use Amazon Athena and run it on your data. Or if you want to do machine learning, you can leverage a virtual machine, or as I mentioned earlier about Amazon SageMaker, and leverage those products to directly interact with the data without actually having to move it anywhere from your primary storage. And data movement also poses a quite a bit of risk because you end up losing a lot of intelligence. You might do some transformation, you might end up losing some information in that transformation process, and you are really missing some critical piece of information for analytics. So bringing processing to storage also reduces that movement of data. And finally, I want to talk about the data exchange program. Data exchange program really allows you to connect with data providers and data subscribers. So if you want to connect with a data provider on AWS who has satellites and who can provide you with data like fine resolution data. You can easily find these providers on the marketplace, on the data exchange marketplace, and you can easily find and subscribe to these data sets. And for the data providers who actually want to create a revenue stream based on these data sets that they may be generating, it's very easy for them to expose this data to millions of customers that are using AWS and create a very easy subscription based model for them to provide this data that you are creating for them. And bringing it all together, this is a very small snippet of all the entire ecosystem that is available at your disposal to really build the applications that you may want to build for digital agriculture and precision agriculture, right? So you have AI services ready to use. If you want to forecast your yield based on some information that you have captured, you can directly use a forecasting service. And if you can build your own services using Amazon SageMaker and so on. So the possibilities are endless, and we really are here to kind of explore these possibilities and help you building these applications. So with that, and this is just one example of how quickly. So, as I recall, Dr. Siwa mentioned a lot about the mobile applications, which is a very powerful tool that farmers have. This shows a very simple architecture where you can leverage data from that is stored in Amazon S3, the data store, and use Amazon Personalize, which is an AI service, and give personalized recommendation to farmers on their mobile applications using push notification. So like if there is a weather alert, if there is a facility impact, and or if there are some agricultural insights, you can really create this application through AWS Amplify, and use personalized recommendation engine to send these insights to end farmers. So if you're really looking to build these kind of applications, the ecosystem is there for you to be able to leverage and help build. So if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Ajit, so much. Also, just want to say that we actually, EOS Data Analytics partners with AWS Amazon. We host, all of our data on Amazon. After all the imagery that comes from the sat imagery, the imagery itself, the analytics, all of that. And also, this actually leads me to this presentation here. Before I tell you a little bit about EOS SAT constellation and our plans for next year, I would just like to ask the moderators to post questions, because we are really short on time, so there will be only one question per moderator. Per speaker, I apologize. So yeah, please, Burjesh and Grace, post the questions here on the side. And while they are doing so, I would just like to tell you a little bit about EOS Data Analytics SAT constellation that will be launched next year. The launch date is set for June 1st, 2022. And what makes, I would say, these satellites unique in terms of offering is that they're going to be the first agricultural-based satellite out there in the market. So the thing is, EOS Data Analytics was founded in 2014. We started as a company where we had a product, an out-of-the-box product for crop monitoring, and we were utilizing other, I would say, other services, like other imagery from other providers, like Sentinel-2, Landsats, and the likes. But then when we have been sort of, presenting this kind of data to various verticals of clients, ranging from farmers to input suppliers, to governments, banks, institutions, you name it, we noticed that there is actually a lack in terms of this data, because even if we talk about high resolution data, there is a lack in terms of bands, in terms of what we can offer really for agricultural sector. So we have identified this gap, and we have been planning these satellites for the past few years now. And what makes these satellites unique, I would say, is first of all, it's going to have 11 bands. So that's going to help us achieve a lot in terms of agricultural. So that would make projects like crop classification, yield prediction, or even yield modeling, which is based on historical data, much easier to implement. The revisit time, of course, would be quite high. We are talking about 1 to 3 days, but we can also provide tasking or priority tasking for certain clients. The resolution would be higher. It would be multispectral and panchromatic, 1.5 meters, 2.8 meters. So we are talking about high resolution imagery, and that of course will help us solve a lot of issues, especially for smallholder farmers. So we are talking about really small fields, and that is the situation, I would say, in Africa, where an average farm size is ranges between 1 hectare and 2 hectares. The same thing we realize and would notice in Asia when we partner up or when we work with clients and provide our services to smallholder farmers is that, yes, we can provide crop monitoring, but sometimes the resolution can get in the way. And this is the reason why we are releasing these satellites. Of course, more information will be provided in a few months in our blogs and social medias, but I just wanted to tell you a little bit about our plan for next year, considering that we are really expanding our agricultural vertical. That does not only include the services, but also the satellite itself. So here, we're not only providing the imagery, but also the analytics that will be derived, or let's say based on the images derived from these satellites. There will be 7 satellites in this constellation. There will be, well, the first one will be launched next year, and we are expected to launch the rest by 2025. And as I said, this will help us not only optimize all the services that we offer, but also provide additional information. That information would, for example, include disease and pest prediction, which is quite a large project, I would say, or quite a common issue. I mean, yes, we do provide crop monitoring. There are lots of services out there, even if we talk about drones, satellite imagery, sensors in the ground, etc. But these kind of data do not tell you what you should do next, or they don't actually tell you what is out there. Why, for example, I have a problem in my field. Yes, we have advisor, we have consultants, but we want our AI to study the entire field or study the plots, identify the problem. Why, for example, we have a drop in NDVI in a certain area in our field. Here, the AI will look at the analytics that we provide. We see that, okay, temperature, for example, is normal, no excess soil moisture, no excess precipitation, normal conditions, no problem relates to fertilizer application. So most likely it's related to an external factor. That could be, for example, pest, fungus, or disease. For example, too much floods or too much water could result in certain amount of pests actually damaging the crop, and that would result in a lower yield outcome down the line. And we want to eliminate that. That is the whole point of this kind of technology. Also, we want to be able to provide recommendations for fertilizer and irrigation. So once we identify that a certain area is lacking a fertilizer, let's say lacking nitrogen or potassium, we want the system to tell you how much fertilizer you need to add in this area after it analyzes all the parameters related to that field. So that would include, for example, soil data, the exact crop variety, as one crop could contain up to 20, 30 varieties, like, for example, sugarcane. So here the system, or the AI again, would analyze all that data and then provide you with the right prescription that you could utilize in order to have a complete map out of the fertilizer that you need to add in the field. Along with optimal crop rotation plan, if you have several crops, several kinds of crops in one field throughout the year. So all of that, basically, we want to improve, if not improve, then implement it in the platform. And just perhaps a few words on the vision that we see along with Adewale, Agroxchange. So, I mean, we have, as Adewale mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, we have been partnering now for 1 year, but we have managed to cover over 400,000 hectares. And this is quite, I would say, large efforts, a big amount of project. So our vision is to establish, I would say, a smart farming institution along with Agroxchange in Africa, in Nigeria, and then we want to cover Ghana and Benin Republic. So we want to start from West Africa and then hopefully expand to cover the entire continent. Because we do believe that this kind of information is not going to be only important for smallholder farmers, but it's going to be important for input suppliers, trading commodities, financial institutions, and banks as well, who provide loans, for example, to these smallholder farmers based on the reports that are derived actually from our platform. So this is sort of just in a few words on the vision. I know that we're now, I would say, nearing 2 hours, but I still would like to have a Q&A session, perhaps for 5 to 10 minutes. So moderators, let's see. I would say the first question. Let's see here. Where is it? Okay, so I'm going to be answering the first question, and then I will be asking the other key speakers the rest of the questions. So the first one, and I would say the ones that we have noticed a lot, the people were asking in the chat box, what is the difference between satellite imagery and drones, especially I would say in terms of cost? And this is, I would say, a very common question that a lot of people ask. So, of course, I mean, first of all, it will depend on the farm size that we are talking about. What exactly you're after? We have to take certain limitations and conditions. We have to understand that there are pros and cons to using drones versus satellites. If we talk about, let's say, drones, yes, they can fly, let's say, under clouds or below clouds. So, of course, that eliminates clouds being an issue for satellites. However, again, winds, for example, can affect drones. So in this scenario, there is a pros and cons for utilizing satellites and for utilizing satellite and drones. The second thing is that satellites, I would say, can capture imagery on a much faster pace. So immediately, for example, if we have fields in different areas, in different states, and you really want to immediately assess what is actually happening in your farm that is in another state, then the platform, you can just log into the system and the platform will show you what is actually happening in the area, whether there are any certain problems that requires your attention. So here you don't have to think about taking a drone, flying it out there in the field. You don't have to think about the logistic aspect of it, nor the cost aspect, because I mean, drones are way more expensive than satellites. And also, I mean, timing. Yes, drones here, I would say, would have a bit of the advantage because you want to assess the field immediately, like to see what is actually happening. You can just set off a drone and it will immediately capture that data. However, if we talk about satellites, then if we talk, for example, Sentinel-2, then the revisit time ranges between 3 to 5 days. But of course, again, that really depends on the satellites that we are using, on the resolution that you're after. And even based on our practice, we've realized that even if we utilize, for example, Sentinel-2 data, and we monitor a field that is 1 hectare, even less than 1 hectare, we can still see what is happening. Where are the problematic areas? Which areas require your attention? Which areas, for example, are suffering from regards to some soil moisture and other parameters? So again, there are pros and cons. We have to assess what is you are after. Is it cost versus benefit? So all of that have to be taken into consideration before we talk about either utilizing drones or satellites. So that is just in a few words. Yeah, so that was my question. We also have a question to Uzoamaka. This is a question to you. So we have a question. They would like to know whether PXD is collaborating with the All Farmers Association in Nigeria, as it would make more sense to be in close working relationship with the organized umbrella body of farmers that cuts across all competencies in the country.
Yes, we are collaborating with the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, and we hope to collaborate with other farmers as well that might not be covered by them. Thank you.
Okay. Adewale, a question to you. What is the situation with internet coverage and the use of technology among farmers in the rural areas in Nigeria, and what is exactly being done to address this issue?
Okay, thank you very much, Rim. Generally, in rural areas, we have limited internet coverage. However, in with the new policies by the Ministry of Digital Economy, there are opportunities to extend internet services, to the rural areas, to be able to, which basically includes, financial inclusion and insurance and all that. So, and with regards to supporting smallholder farmers, again, where this doesn't exist, the extension staff, they work from outside, to provide the advisory to the farmers when they visit the farms. So we always look for ways to work around these constraints. But right now, I believe things are getting better, but we're not going to wait for that, to get better. But we will, while providing jobs for the youth, to be able to achieve this. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Adewale. Moving on to the next question, Dr. Siva. We have a question that says, I'm currently investigating the use of LoRaWAN-based WSN and IoT for smallholder farming monitoring. Do you have any recommendations?
Okay, so one thing which is important with LoRaWAN installations, you got to make sure you have gateways available. So that's important. And then, that might be more of an infrastructure thing. And also, these sensors, LoRaWAN sensors, are designed for harsh field conditions. So, there's a lot of ability to overcome this issue of block signals and things like that. So, so that's one of the things. But I have to look into, probably Adi will be able to say something about the infrastructure that is available, for smallholders.
Mm-hmm.
And the team which I work with, Adaptive Agrotech, with Redmond and all that, we use hybrid arrangements, which means it's got wireless as well as LoRa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Right.
Yep. Is that all, Doctor?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And lastly, a question to Amazon, Ajit. I would like to know the kind of criteria AWS considers before moving its services to certain countries, because despite agricultural being the mainstay of Nigeria, AWS has not considered bringing its services here. Please comment.
Sure. So we do have a region in South Africa, and we are continually monitoring demand and feasibility, doing a feasibility study to even expand further into our services into Africa. However, I would say there are multiple factors that we considered while moving our AWS or providing AWS services in region, and conditions like how much geographical area we can cover when we open a AWS region to provide many customers from low latency cloud services, right? We also need to make sure there is availability of renewable energy, given the fact that Amazon has pledged to reduce our carbon footprint or to zero. And we also need to ensure that the local government is supportive of long-term commitment into renewable and sustainable technology infrastructure. So these factors are being continually monitored, and I can assure you that we have a very large amount, or we have a very large team that is continuously seeing opportunities where we can expand. And as I already mentioned, we are expanding at a faster clip. So maybe we will be opening up new centers in Africa very soon.
Yeah, that would be great, considering we're also expanding our services in Nigeria. Okay, thank you, Ajit. I think this is it, because we are way over time. I would like to thank, first of all, the key speakers for joining today and making this webinar exciting and very informative. Thank you so much for attending and having the time to attend. I would also like to thank all the participants. Of course, we're going to be sending out a recording after we conclude this webinar. So you will have the recording, and also you will have the presentation that you see here. Thank you so much again. I hope you have found this insightful, and we are looking forward to hosting another webinar this summer. So please stay tuned. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening and stay safe. Thank you.